Worked hard all week, got a little jingle on a Tennessee Saturday. That is awful. That is awful.
No,
And
it
I
was
call
not.
myself a musician, but a Tennessee Saturday night.
Oh,
Uh,
Chris is Chris is
Chris pulls out his guitar too. Hey,
We sell.
Freebird. Welcome to the third Saturday in October podcast, your SEC water cooler podcast for the rest of us. We're getting the band back together, man.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
Bradley
playing the tiny
Minigan.
violin, Bradley. I don't know if you can see that. Yep.
With me, I've got two co-casters, Chris Murphy, Jared Easley. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Chris.
Mr. Easley.
Oh, okay.
Oh, look at us.
Hey, there's a sad picture of Hugh Freeze here in my background, and so that tells you how an Auburn fan is doing. That said, as we are used to the pain and the anguish this season, where some other teams across the state aren't, so I will now defer to our co-captain Chris Murphy.
Well, you know what? I appreciate that you both are wearing your team's colors and even showing the result of the games behind you. I couldn't even see myself to put on crimson this morning. I'm representing service academies from here on out, the rest of the 2024 season. Go Army. We're all in on Army because
Right.
I have no idea what to expect with my Crimson Tide. Yet another loss.
Chris is no longer a closet Indiana fan. He is.
Right.
When things go bad, I switch teams. Google it.
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm so glad to have both of you here today. You can find us on social media at TSIO Pod. If you'd like to support the show, be part of our Saturday chat, find us on Venmo at TSIO Pod, third Saturday in October.com. That you want chaos? You got chaos this weekend. Uh, let's let's just dive right in. So um let sorry to lead off with the Auburn loss, but Missouri beats Auburn 21-17. This game at at the end of the fourth quarter felt like, okay, can Auburn hold on? And in the group text it was, hey, we've as soon as Auburn took that lead, it's like we'll figure out a way to give this away.
Yes.
And unfortunately that happened. Jared, how you feeling?
Christmas came early for Missouri, and yeah, I don't know, man. It is what it is. It's just one of those years. Basketball can't get here soon enough. We still love our Auburn Tigers, and but man, it has not been a fun college football season to watch the Auburn Tigers. So I have to defer to other teams when that happens, and I was delighted in some other victories this weekend. I'll be honest, and one of them happened to be at the expense of Chris Murphy, and I don't think I was very quiet about that in our text exchange this Saturday. So
No,
The
you
only thing
weren't.
was quiet was me once Alabama was going down. I'm like, I can't deal. I can't deal with it.
Yeah,
I was like Bradley. I think he handed his phone to Terry. So yeah,
well, I did have to text Chris like hours later after my kids had gone to bed. I was like, Chris, how you doing over there? And he said,
yeah, you
I'm
okay?
good,
Yeah,
hanging with my
Uh,
son. Well,
yeah.
so
yeah.
this
That's what
this
you
came
do
up
in
in other
morning.
conversations. Has I know Hugh Freeze has called out his veteran players, saying there's a lack of leadership. Do you feel like he's lost the locker room a little bit, or is
Mm.
this just growing pains trying to get your players in there, and your players are going to be younger, or even if they're coming in from the transfer portal, they haven't had as much time in the system. Jared, what's your feeling on that locker room?
I think the younger guys are the future and the hope, and
Yeah.
so it's probably a little bit of a shame that more of them are not more involved. We are involving as many as we can,
Mm.
but I would like to personally see a maybe just a changeover at the QB. I'm not anti Peyton Thorne. I think he has his moments, but I don't think he's able to win the big ones, and we know that. And I don't know why we're still playing him. To be honest, I think we should just go ahead and let some of the younger guys get a chance, but that's me. So I don't
Well,
think we lost the locker room. I don't. I really don't. I think we're just snake bit.
yeah.
It's just one of those years.
Gosh,
Yeah,
that's a perfect word. That's what it felt like.
yeah,
As the clock wore down on the fourth quarter, it's just like, oh, like my gosh, like at some points, you know that feeling where you want to text your buddies something, but you're like, this text could be the thing that if it goes wrong, could be the reason it went wrong
Yeah,
because of
this will
I
be
got
the
the
jinx.
conspiracy theory plus being what is it like wanting things to go wrong and like holding horseshoes and four leaf clovers and stuff. Um, and so I wanted to say like there you go, like in the second quarter particularly, I'm like, there's Peyton Thorne, there's that flash that you have heard about, and there it is. And then just it continued to happen. And I was actually driving between Louisville, Kentucky, and Nashville during that game, and it was so frustrating. My wife is a big Auburn fan, as you guys both know, and so I was rooting for Auburn. I wanted to see them win. I mean, I wanted to see them win for their own purposes and their confidence as much as I did for Jared, you, and my wife cheering on your teams. But man, I was so angry. I pulled over to get gas as the clock ticked down, and I was fuming so much so to where I was worried that I was going to cause some sort of combustion issue with getting gas because I was just I'm just so ticked off, and that's not even my team of that I'm a diehard for. But it's frustrating to me as even an Alabama fan. I can't imagine how Auburn fans must feel to see that slip away.
I think almost every loss, with maybe one exception, have been close.
Hmm.
So I'm not trying for moral victories or anything, but it's one of those things where it's just like, man, a few things that went a little different, and maybe we're
Yeah.
talking about a completely different team here, but they just haven't.
Yeah.
And but these things haven't happened in like 74 years. Apparently, Auburn hadn't lost like five straight and that long.
Well,
So on one hand, it's like, well, what are you doing, Hugh? But I still got faith in the guy, and I know we have some good folks that are going to come in, and it's just a rough season, and the true fans will see it for what it is, and remain as optimistic as possible. But it doesn't make it fun. It's not
yeah.
fun to watch. I'll be honest. But to Bradley's point, there were other games, and Missouri, hats off to them. Eli Drinkowich is a heck of a coach.
Yeah.
I'm
True.
really happy for them. I'm not going to take it away from them, man. Good for them. And Auburn knows who they are this season, and that's what it is. But the rest of the SEC is alive and well, and we got some good competition going on, and a couple of these teams found out. I'm sure we're going to talk about that, right, Bradley?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
So, we'll we'll stop pushing on that bruise, and we'll move
Yeah.
to a team that I'm okay getting bruised up. Their first year in the SEC. South Carolina defeats Oklahoma
Oh yeah. Let the bruises. Yeah.
35-9.
Yeah. And I don't know if I saw this right, Chris, but I think there was like a problem when they came out at the beginning of the game, and like their little Oklahoma Sooners stagecoach fell over. Did you see that? That was
No,
like
I didn't.
that looked really painful, and
Oh,
I think people
Again?
might have gotten in trouble. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I don't know if it was again. Maybe that was from a previous game. I don't know, but
So I know I don't know how long ago it was, but I know it has tipped over previously.
I think it tipped over this weekend. It looked really brutal for whoever was in it. Like I didn't
ouch.
envy them at all. So that was kind of indicative of how the game went. So
Yeah.
so I have to say I'm happy for South Carolina. Way to represent, man.
Beamer
Shane
ball.
Beamer, he was like, hey, we're not going to let Oklahoma come in here and do this, and good for
And
them.
South Carolina is one of those teams you have to be on it. That you cannot. I know we talked about this before. You can't overlook a team in the SEC. South Carolina's gonna surprise some people. They already
Mm.
have, and you got to be
Mhm.
on it, or things like this will happen. But
Yeah,
hey,
and
Oklahoma, welcome to the SEC.
well, they fired their OC, Luttrell.
Yeah.
He's gone. He's already out. This is his first year. He's already out. So
Gosh. Yeah, things aren't firing on all cylinders over in Oklahoma, and which is just weird. Like the past couple of years of looking since Lincoln Riley was there and then left, and to look at both Oklahoma and USC. That whole Lincoln Riley connection there. It's just wild to see how both of those teams are such a head scratcher because they
Yeah.
should be so much better than they are. But
USC
again,
losing to Maryland, that was I was happy, but I was also like that. This just what world are we in? This is weird.
Right.
So,
Oh, man.
yeah, Bradley and I talked a bit last week about when 10 years ago when Missouri and Texas A&M came into the league. Everybody assumed that it was going to be Texas A&M that may have some fun in the SEC, and then Missouri will take a couple years to figure it out. And then Missouri goes on to represent the East
yeah.
in the SEC championship, and then Texas A&M had its own struggles then. But it kind of seems like that way this year is like the two new people coming in or teams coming in. One, Oklahoma, it just looks lost. But I don't know if that's indicative of SEC or Venables or the players or what it is. But it seems like they're struggling there. But Texas, and I know we'll talk about them soon too. Even with the loss, seems like that they are one of the teams to beat and one of the elites of the SEC right now.
Yeah. Speaking of elites in the SEC, sitting atop the SEC standings, Texas A&M, a little bit of a struggle win against Mississippi State. Mississippi State is another one of those teams that is a lot close. I mean, they're playing closer games. Now Mississippi State lost by 10, 34-24, but I mean, Mississippi State should be getting blown out by A&M, who is ranked 14 at the time of their playing. But Texas A&M in in the driver's seat. I know they got some games coming up, but how do we feel with Texas A&M post their loss to it was Notre Dame in week 1, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So they've got LSU this week, then South Carolina. Don't sleep on South Carolina, New Mexico State, Auburn, and then they got to play Texas, which heck of a last game of the season.
Yeah.
Yes, so happy that rivalry's back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
That's a
gosh.
good
Yeah.
one. And man, yeah, I think Texas A&M. If you see them beat LSU, look out. Now if they lose, maybe they are who they are, but I don't know, man. I think Mike Elko's he's overachieving a little bit this season, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So good for him.
Yeah.
And Mississippi State, I'm giving them a pass, man. They've had a rough 2 years since Mike Leach passed away, and
Absolutely.
I'm not hating on them, dude. They'll especially if Lane Kiffin leaves Ole Miss. It wouldn't surprise me if you see Mississippi State being back, back in the thick of things, and maybe running Mississippi for a bit. Southern Miss just fired their coach.
Mm.
Yeah, Mississippi's having a rough go, except for Ole Miss. So if the Lane train leaves, whew.
Yeah, you can tell by how bad it's been in Mississippi when Ole Miss players are just laying on the field, seemingly unhurt, but yet they can't get up. Even the winning teams are having difficulties over Mississippi.
Just laying down.
Just laying up.
I do recall a play where Alabama had a player laying down.
Yeah, okay, maybe I shouldn't be talking. But again, I'm a Service Academy fan now. I don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, again, whether it be if you look top to bottom in the SEC, such a fun season to watch right now because again, the only team undefeated in SEC play. Well, I guess it's Texas A&M and
LSU.
Is that it? Oh, LSU. That's right. Oh my gosh, yeah. And so
LSU's
the only difference
USC,
being
right?
Yeah.
The only difference being A&M's won 4 games. LSU's only played 3 with 3 wins. So
Gotcha. That's right.
But yeah, undefeated in the conference.
Wow. Yeah, but to make that point from top to bottom, though, it's nice to be able to watch and see that these games are.
My goodness, yeah. When Brian Kelly gets in the playoffs and makes a deep run, I mean, I think we all knew he's capable of that. That might end up happening this season.
Yeah.
So.
But on behalf of SEC fans, outside of LSU fans everywhere, we can't let this happen because he coached at Notre Dame, and we can't it's like we have to do everything we can to spoil Oklahoma and Texas's seasons.
True. But there's some redemption to Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame to come to LSU.
That's true too.
Saw the errors in his ways.
Yeah, it's like he repented and let's
Yeah,
welcome him to the flock. I
yeah.
don't know.
And he has such a great Southern accent,
He does not, and but that doesn't seem to matter. So good for him.
Oh.
Yeehaw, Brian Kelly,
Yep.
Well,
the Baton Rouge bad boy.
yeah, if his Southern accent hadn't given LSU gray hairs already, I don't know. But this next game, the game of our namesake, the third Saturday in October, I'm pretty sure was giving me gray hairs. That I don't know, Chris. I know you and I were texting a bit. It was stressful to watch, and
Stressful.
I don't. Neither team played well at all, um, but Tennessee eked out a win at home. This this jacket that Danny White's wearing in my background picture, I need one of those.
Yeah, that's slick.
That's
It
beautiful.
I'd wear that. Heck, I'd wear that every day. Um,
Is that a bow tie type sport jacket, or you need to go long tie with that one, or no tie, collar open,
D,
McConaughey style?
Mm.
D White's going no tie, I believe.
Yeah, that's true.
But but man, what an atmosphere. I mean, I think a couple years ago it was raucous, but because we hadn't won in 15, 16 years, there was still a little bit of doubt. I was very nervous going into this game. Uh, Chris, what about you?
Yeah, you talk about gray hair. I've had a full dye job since Saturday because the whole thing up there, this is just it's whitish gray from ears up. Yeah, it's frustrating to watch Alabama, which has signs of brilliance at certain times. Well, certain times being like 3 or 4 weeks ago now in the first half of against Georgia. But ever since then, it's a team I don't really recognize. It's hard for me to pull for when I see them, flopping on the field and pushing people, regardless of if somebody talked first or a couple weeks ago, one of our defensive backs kicking the ball. It's like there's an unsportsmanlike vibe that I am not a fan of, and I don't want to support, and I don't want to cheer for. So it's hard to watch, and then to try to there's no excuses for what happened. I remember I was talking to a Tennessee fan Saturday before the game, and he said similar things to you, Bradley, of just the frustration of watching his team. And I was echoing it as well because they seem to come into the game following kind of a similar path this season. Is
Yeah.
that they've got the pieces to put something together, and they've got all the potential. But who you're going to get from quarter to quarter is a big old question mark. And it didn't. That part didn't disappoint in the game because there were question marks all over the place from Alabama's penalties to player interactions to coaches, mild-mannered coaches yelling all over the place. This does not feel like the Alabama team that at least I have in my head, the ideal of, and again, now I've got an Auburn fan and a Vols fan sitting here. So I know that we always haven't been the kindest to you lot, but I want to see a team. I want to root for a team that has excellence and sportsmanship as high priorities on their list. And maybe this is what you have to do first year of trying to hold on to a bunch of student athletes that want to go elsewhere when the greatest of all time leaves the coaching area there. But it was hard to watch, and so much so to where when I knew that it was out of hand when that interception was thrown at the very end of the game, I turned it off. So I didn't even know that the ball stormed the field again. So congrats on that. And yeah, I didn't want to see that air of smoke start slowly rising above Neyland Stadium because it was too painful to watch. But hopefully Bama can rebound and use that as a learning opportunity. But I would have hoped that they would have done that after the Vandy game. And it hasn't seemed like it's done much to improve their attitude or their playing on the field. But offensively, feels like that we're very, very one-dimensional. It just seemed like that the whole game. I went back and watched it later to try to really concentrate on it. It was like if it's not our quarterback throwing to Williams, number 2, it's like there's nothing to do. We don't really have much of a running game because we just try to pass it, and most of those passes are just some sort of heave it and cross your fingers kind of passes. I wish we could get back to some basics of football and build on that, not try to just be this team that's either a big play, boom or bust kind of team. But I guess that's who we are right now. Regardless of this, that's how we're locked into playing that way because we don't have other weapons, or we just have become one dimensional because we're trying to be flashy. Not sure, but it's frustrating to watch. But on the other hand, Mr. Balls, even though it was frustrating for you, got to be nice to enjoy a win there, especially on third Saturday in October against Alabama. Now we're seeing this rivalry come back to its prominence, and I really do like that.
Yeah, it's something that has been there for the Iron Bowl. No matter the ranking, that game has the potential to be a great game. Third Saturday in October, I felt until the last few years that it was really never within reach for Tennessee. And so I love this game being competitive.
Yeah. I've never seen Chris happier, by the way, than when that was happening. So,
yeah, man.
Yeah.
The last decade from 2009-ish to 2020, and I've never been happier.
That's the
I didn't take one depression
I've ever
pill.
seen in Chris Murphy was doing that run.
And Jared, what was? Give us some of your thoughts as a more neutral party. Although I know no Auburn fan can be neutral when Alabama's playing.
I thought Tennessee left too much time on the clock, which is hilarious because it wasn't hardly any time. And I honestly believed it wouldn't surprise me to see Alabama go down the field and score and win this game and break the hearts of Tennessee Nation, only to throw an interception. And until that interception was thrown, I honestly was like, Tennessee's potentially going to lose this. And then Alabama, it is what it is. Just a good play by Tennessee defense. So that's why I guess I'm not so down on Alabama. I understand Alabama fans being down because they're not used to this, but yes, you lost, but man, what a intense environment. I mean, a ruthless environment to be in, and you lost just by one score. And it you threw an interception. That happens sometimes. So it's Jalen Milroe, and it's his second year. But that being said, I'm not. It wouldn't surprise me if Alabama bounces back and beats the Texas. They beat Georgia for crying out loud. So I don't believe Alabama is completely out of this yet, although I understand why Alabama fans are in mourning. But congratulations to Tennessee, and they needed this victory, and they got it, and they made it happen, and thrilled for them. I see, they're just doing so many things that are positive with the recruiting and stuff. Like Tennessee's not going away; they're going to be around. They're going to be a good team, and look out. You don't want to take them for granted. You don't want to take any team for granted, but Tennessee's just really, really happy for them in this win. And, it is nice as an Auburn fan to see Alabama lose, but I'm not giving up on Alabama yet. I think they're still you made the comment, Chris, like, oh, I figured after Vandy, we'd be more ready to, seek and destroy. And I can't imagine that not being the case now with a sense of urgency, because you get more than two losses, then you're probably not in the playoff hunt. You're still in the playoff hunt, I think. So, we'll see what happens. But and there's not easy games left. I mean, you still got some big ones on the horizon. So, it's gonna be fun.
Typically with Alabama, you would look at several of the games left and go like, okay, we easily got through Vandy, we easily got through South Carolina. It was a struggle against a rival team, and we lost, but that's all right. We've got some hope because Alabama is going to be pre-game favorites against most of the teams that they're yet to play. But again, watching them play Vandy, watching them play South Carolina, watching a first half where Tennessee looked like they couldn't do anything. And kept giving the ball back to Alabama, and yet Alabama couldn't put it in the end zone. And so going into halftime, only up 7, I was like, if Tennessee can find some life, and again, so many of these games, I'm even getting tired of hearing this term this season, but a tale of two halves. People will talk about how a team will look one way in the first half and then come out and completely flip the script on the second half. I was worried that, like, okay, Nico goes back into the under the stadium at halftime, and our team's had several turnovers, and yet we're only down by one score. Take a big old deep breath and go out there and win this game. And
That's why I thought they would. Honestly, I thought that was likely. And then when they threw the interception, that's when I was like, okay, Bradley's um, Bradley is jumping all over the place like a madman, and
Yeah.
good for him.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you know, I said it, I can't remember if I said it on the show last week. I know I said it to some people at the office and in around during the week. I felt like if Tennessee did not score a touchdown on one of their first two drives, the game was over.
Mm.
And when that did not happen, I was like, I looked at my brother who was over watching the game. And I said, "We're not winning today. I guarantee it. We are not winning today." And I was glad I was proved wrong.
yeah, in a typical season that would have been true, but this is
Yeah.
proving to be far from that. So,
Yeah.
Well, and as far as being proven wrong, let's move on to LSU, Arkansas. LSU's still winning, and I I thought that coming into the SEC, Brian Kelly would not be able to replicate the success that he had at Notre Dame, but he's rattling off wins and beating Arkansas by 24. Arkansas is still a really good team.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're better than people give them credit for. Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's I know I've said this before. The SEC is more compressed this year than I've seen in a while. Because look at Mississippi State still competing week in and week out. But LSU beats Arkansas, stays undefeated in the SEC. So you've you've got A&M and LSU at the top of the SEC standings. You've still got Texas, Georgia, Tennessee ranked very high. Alabama's still ranked. Missouri's still ranked.
Vandy
Vanderbilt's ranked.
still ranked. Yeah.
So
Yeah, but
I
this
mean,
is
it is a power
unbelievable.
struggle
Yeah.
of great proportions.
It is.
Yeah, just speaking quickly on that Razorbacks game or LSU versus Arkansas, I expected the Razorbacks to make it a little closer, and I guess it could have been the bounce of the ball going one way or another. But again, hats off to Brian Kelly doing what he's doing, even though sometimes it's frustrating. Knowing his coaching pedigree coming from states up north above the Mason-Dixon line. But all of that being said, I think LSU is looking good. I think that they've got now confidence where a lot of people weren't giving them a shot, and now everybody's got to pay attention to them because, again, Texas A&M and LSU are undefeated at this point when everybody else has got a loss in the SEC, which is just nuts. So exciting times, even though Arkansas, I know that they really wanted to have a better showing on Saturday.
I personally didn't expect Arkansas to win that game. So if you're an Arkansas fan and you're heartbroken over losing to LSU, that's maybe a little bit crazy, but Arkansas is still a good team, and they're still likely to have a good year, depending on how the rest of the games play out. But LSU, don't sleep on them. We know that, and I'm glad Auburn didn't have to play them because we're losing bad enough as it is.
Yeah,
but we do have Texas A&M, so we gotta play them at some point. So
Look out for A&M.
None of them are cupcakes. So we got Vandy. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be a rough year.
Well,
for Auburn. Yep.
Well, who's not a cupcake? Ball State. Vanderbilt.
They took them to the distance. Yeah. But,
Vanderbilt winning 24-14, but for a team that's beaten Virginia Tech, Alabama, lost to Georgia State. I mean, I did expect more out of Vanderbilt this week, but it's also a good week to kind of catch your breath and not have your best game, get that out of your system because you've got some big ones coming up. But Vanderbilt winning and being ranked.
Yeah.
No doors.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
been since Franklin, right? I mean, they haven't had a
mhm.
season like this since Franklin, right? So
Right.
Yeah,
it's
I think so.
yeah, good for
Yeah,
them. Yeah,
yeah, it
I mean,
is.
I don't remember them
It's
ever storming the field. So
They haven't had
that,
enough fans to storm the field.
yeah. Well, they didn't
I'm
against
surprised they had enough
Alabama,
fans
but
to
they yeah
Right. Yeah.
surprised they had enough fans to carry that goalpost as
yeah
far as they
they
did.
had to recruit like staff to come on the field and stuff. It was
They're getting bar keeps off of
like, is this
Broadway
okay?
to
Can
come
we
out and
do
help.
this? Yeah, the bar keeps. Yeah,
Well, what they did is they got their football players, like the guys who didn't play, the freshmen, the red shirts, take off their pads and put on a Vanderbilt t-shirt over to make it look like there were more
Yeah, that's
students
a good call.
well,
on the
Yeah,
in
field.
fairness, they are the barkeeps when they're not on the team. So,
Yeah.
uh,
it is Nashville.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is. So, yeah,
There are a lot of uh bachelorette parties
there
that
are,
they've got to serve.
and bless them. Yes.
Pedal taverns.
Yeah.
It's the the biggest the biggest shock, even bigger than beating Alabama, the fact that they could get the goalpost down lower broad through all of those
I'm
bachelorette
still
parties
I'm
and
still
pedal
so proud of them.
taverns.
That's bigger than beating Bama in my book. So that's
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
good on
And you know what
Vanderbilt.
else is fun about Vanderbilt is the fact that, like, looking at this, winning by only 10 against Ball State, usually in a season when we're talking about Vanderbilt, it's like, hey, good for them. Good
yeah.
for them. They got to win regardless of how they did it. They won by 10. That's great. It may not have been the spread, but good for them. But in this season, it's like, ooh, struggle win for Vandy. Maybe they're
Yeah.
looking ahead to Texas coming into their own stadium in less than a week now.
Yeah.
But that's going to be,
That game
and
is
now
in
that has
Nashville.
like, yeah, yeah.
I think Bradley
Got.
should be tailgating. That's what I
I was
think.
going to say, Jared, you got any weekend plans? Take a little road trip?
I might just come up for the tailgate.
Yeah. Well, we'll go sit outside and listen to that because I know there are no tickets available. Not a big stadium, probably quite pricey.
No, no, I'd
Uh,
be watching the game on Broadway with the barkeeps. So,
yeah.
mhm.
Well, um, yeah, come up Saturday. We'll find
Okay,
great stuff to do.
yeah, from Fort Lauderdale to Nashville, that's a
It's an easy drive.
2 hour drive, easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's no problem. Uh what what was not an easy drive was
nice segue, by the way.
Yeah, very
I
I don't
try.
even know where this is going, but I was like, that was well played.
Was that driver? I guess they do
Yeah.
fly, but I figured maybe they saved the planes for the basketball team. Kentucky's drive back home from Florida just getting thumped in the swamp. 48-20. I mean, Florida has struggled this year,
Yeah.
but they looked good against a what I thought was and still do think is a good Kentucky team.
Mhm.
They beat Ole Miss on the road. So,
I,
I mean,
I mean, this is what I mean by it's compressed. There's chaos. I love it. I'm here for it. I'd still be here for it even if the third Saturday in October outcome was reversed because I too thought there was too much time at the end. But Kentucky over here feeling like there's too much time left. Florida probably scored again.
yeah, I don't understand that. I think Kentucky should have gone in and taken care of business, and the fact that they didn't, that
Yeah.
concerns me. Um, Good for Florida. I was in Florida a couple weeks ago, went to a game and enjoyed that atmosphere. And those fans, they are not giving up on their team, and I'm glad. Good for them to be able to continue that win streak on Kentucky. So, although it's not as long and lengthy as it used to be. So,
Well, Jared, I know that that I think all three of us have our own uh, teams that we root for, and then our partners or our spouses have another
mhm.
team in the SEC that we all root for. Is that clear? Because I know that Bradley's wife is a big Georgia fan. Mine's a big
she
Auburn fan,
was
and
her
Yeah,
her
yours is
family, her
I gotcha.
family
Yeah,
are
yeah,
big Georgia fans. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, I guess maybe that falls under that category for mine as well. What about your wife? Is she a huge Gators fan, or are you guys all Gators
Yeah,
fan when you're not
her and
choosing
her brother,
Auburn?
their family, they are Gator fans, and so when I went to that Gators game, I was decked out in like a Gator shirt and Gators, and that was not because of me, Chris. That was totally me not wanting to sleep on the couch. So I wore it, but in my heart, I was a little bit not excited. But that particular game was Tom Petty weekend, and so there was a lot of Tom Petty playing in the stadium that night, and rightfully so in my heart. So
That's a great night to go on.
Yeah.
it was a night game. It was against UCF, and they put the hurt on UCF, and so
Hmm.
it's kind of not really a rivalry, but it kind of had the feels of that a little bit, and so that was fun. That was a fun experience, and
That's awesome.
I was glad to see the Gators beat the Wildcats, even though the Wildcats should have a better year, and I was hoping they would. But it just goes to show you, man. Any week, Mississippi State could come up and put the hurt on somebody, and then we're all like, "What just happened?" So
Yeah.
Hmm.
here we are.
Well, I've had a similar experience. I've gotten to go to two Georgia games. One in Atlanta, like one of
Mm.
those early kickoff games. Uh, this was in the Mark Richt era. I believe they lost to Boise State.
Ooh.
Um, but it was on the way to that game that I don't remember what I was wearing, but my father-in-law looked at me and said, "Hey, you're not wearing a Georgia shirt. I paid for these tickets. You're wearing something Georgia." And we
It was like a
we pulled
Seinfeld
over for
episode, I remember.
we pulled over for a rest stop, and across the street was a Cracker Barrel, and I said, I know there's something in there, and I was like, I gotta buy something before he does because he's gonna buy something red,
So
and I
obnoxious,
don't
and
want to
yeah,
be I don't want to be seen in that just yet. I,
Be a dust collector in your closet for the rest of your life.
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I, my wife and I may not have been even engaged at that point,
That's your
and
mission trip shirt when you go to
so
Honduras.
so I ran into Cracker Barrel and found a gray Georgia shirt. And I was like, hey, I got something. We're good because as little red as possible. But I know I wore that to Sanford Stadium and got to watch a game between the hedges. Um, if I recall correctly, Georgia lost that one too. So I don't think I'm going to any more Georgia
Yeah,
games.
you're now not welcome at Georgia
Yeah,
games.
your
Yeah.
father-in-law is going to keep you at least 100 miles away from
He's like, don't let Bradley
Athens.
come. Yeah, he's bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
he wears gray. Yeah,
well, and as I continue to segue, bad news for Texas as well. Another thumping into the night with two thumpings between Florida thumping Kentucky and Georgia thumping Texas in Austin. I did not see this coming. But but Georgia looked Georgia looked like I thought they would all year. And granted, they only have one loss to Alabama, but a close win against Kentucky, like it just hadn't looked like the same Georgia team. This one, however, taking on a Texas team that has every bit looked like a legitimate number one team,
yeah, absolutely.
winning 30-15.
I can't make heads or tails of it. I really thought Texas would put up a better showing, and I'm not giving up on Texas either because I know they're a good team. But man, and then their fans, the way they reacted, that's not the SEC, man. We're not doing that.
I, I
Throwing
I can't
stuff.
I can't say anything. Mustard bottles and golf balls,
Well, okay, you know what? That's a UT thing, isn't it? Okay. Um, Chris, I'll defer to you then.
Well, I liked what Kirby Smart was saying afterwards about the throwing stuff onto the field thing. Is like, regardless of where the call went, are we going to set a precedent that the minute a call doesn't go a team's way, that it's the right of the student section or the fans in general in the stadium to start throwing things on the field just to protest? That's not where we want to go, and that's not a good look. That's kind of like the bad sportsmanship from the fans to do that is really weird, because it was all of that that allowed the refs to think about it and talk about it and discuss overturning the call, which I don't know that I've ever seen in my life
Oh,
in
right.
college football. So just the fact that that happened, that was wild. And again, season of chaos. Call this the sock season. Because it does seem like that like the minute that you think that you know something about a team, or that you just come to expect something about a team, like I think we all just expected Texas to kind of give it to Georgia. That's when you need to take a step back, because there is nothing that seems to be going per the script of
or
the
at
way the
least come down
preseason.
to the wire, and then we didn't even get that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, that's true. It was an
well,
excellent game to watch, and I know that it kind of mellowed out towards the end because Georgia kind of took the reins there. But from top to bottom, it was a great SEC day to watch football. I remember I think it was Greg McElroy who was calling the Alabama Tennessee game, was
Yeah.
saying something like when he was like knowing that Texas and Georgia was about to play, he said when his co-host asked who he thought would win. And he was like, I think that Texas has got this handled, but because I think that Texas got this handled, that means that probably Georgia will come out and win. And that seemed like to describe the entirety of the SEC season up to this point. But like, once you know something, you better hold your
I
breath
had that
because
same thought. People were just like Texas, Texas. I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't know. Georgia might come in there and surprise people, and that's exactly what happened. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I wasn't willing to put money on it, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'll say this about going back to fans throwing stuff on the field. I thought is for a guy who does not like Coach Sark for a variety of reasons, USC, Alabama, Texas. Like, why should I like anybody associated with those teams? Um, and he's associated with all of them. He walked all the way across the field to tell
Yeah.
that student section, "Hey, stop, we don't need this." And I'm glad that the refs allowed him to do that. I don't know if there was any communication, but he just slowly walked over there and saying stop. And good on him because he knew what could happen. And I gotta say I think he does have a good bead on not just what's happening at his program, but across the country, which is something that I think Nick Saban did as well. And I don't know if he picked that up during his time in Tuscaloosa or if he already had that kind of mindset going on. But good on Coach Sarkeesian for trying to stop that.
Well,
Yeah,
and in the
I like that
past,
too.
yeah, Sarkeesian had some drinking problems, and I felt like he was like, "There's a better way, guys." So it wasn't just football; it was
Yeah,
him imparting knowledge.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah. I thought it was a good look for him to do that. It seemed like that. He is the leader of that team and the leader of that university, and so to represent and say that, like, regardless of if I get another flag thrown for walking out onto the field and doing this, I'm going to take responsibility and leadership here. I like that as well.
yeah. And what a nightcap for a crazy day, a continuation of a chaotic SEC season, but I really couldn't ask for more.
Nope.
No.
This it has been fun when my team loses. I've got another underdog that I can cheer for, and
Mm-hmm.
it kind of butter that burnt toast because it's not quite as it's not as sweet as icing on a cake, but
it's definitely burnt where I'm at. Yeah. So
just don't burn it to the ground.
Yeah, don't burn that orange all the way to Texas, though.
that's the
Keep it the way it
darkest
is.
toast I've ever seen. But I love playing spoiler, and I love cheering for other schools and seeing them have success. And yeah, man, whether your team wins or loses, if you're a real diehard SEC fan, you should be able to still appreciate what's going on overall, and that's me. So
Yeah. Once I picked myself up from the puddle of tears and booze that I had trapped myself in after that loss, I was able to take some stock in the idea that this is a fun football season to watch. And I don't know if it's what's that.
Well, I think what Chris was trying to say is that he was hanging with the barkeeps after.
I needed lower broad to keep me keep me upright.
Yeah, he found lower broad to help. So,
I just chunked a couple of chairs off the roof down there, which I didn't get in trouble for because more famous people had done it before me. But again, just saying, wrapping up here, I don't know if it's the NIL. I don't know if it's the referees doing what they're doing. Oh, hey, there you go. Doing what they're doing this year, or the 12-team playoff. I don't know what it is, but I do like that it has infused a lot more excitement so far into not being able to really know what a team is going to do, even the ones that were preseason or midseason dominant. You can't count out an underdog. You can't say that what they did last week is going to show up here, because it's been wild, and it's harder to determine what's going to happen. But man, is it fun to watch.
It's been a blast. And it's been a blast with you two guys.
Totally.
With co-caster Jared, with executive producer Chris.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I'm
guys.
humbled to be here. I feel like I'm the kid that won't get off y'all's lawn. So thank you for including me.
Hey, we will have you on our lawn anytime you want to be here. In any parting words from either of you? I mean, it's been a heck of a week, heck of a season.
Yeah, I want to echo that too. Like Jared, if you're the kid that won't get off the lawn, it's only because we keep inviting you over, because we like hanging with Jared, and I love this. I love this trio, especially when we chat college football or music, or in the case of you going to that Tom Petty tribute game in Florida, both music and football at the same time. So, yeah, I love it. I'm not as big of a fan as Alabama doing what they do this season, but it is making it an interesting one to watch. So I'm going to keep watching.
Absolutely. Yeah, we still got football left, guys. The season's not over. And if you think your team is out, maybe they are, like Auburn, but not everyone is. So, yeah, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen next week. So it's going to be.
Again, they get to play spoiler now to the rest of the season, which will be.
And I love how Bradley put that. If you can't get a bowl game, then may as well be spoiler. So now that's what I have to root for. So hope we can spoil Alabama. That would be a lot of fun. So.
You got a real good shot.
I will be.
It will be in Tuscaloosa, so I don't know how good of a shot that'll be, but we're looking forward to more.
Hey, stranger things have happened this season. And I'm here for it. Well, if you want to join this conversation, find us online at thirdsaturdayiNoctober.com. Find us on social media at TSIO Pod, on Venmo at TSIO Pod if you want to support the show and be a part of our Saturday chat. Come on, we'd love to have you. Signing off. It's third Saturday in October. It is the reason that at least 2/3 of us are here. So
that's the reason I'm here. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm celebrating. Yep.
You're still here, and we still love it. Thanks, Jared. Roll Vols.
Roll Vols.
Tailgate, man cave, living room, pregame, burgers, ribs, chicken wings, chip and dip, pregame, scotch and a lot of IPA, Coca-Cola,